as a follow-up, on this Greek crisis, because it's not just a Greek crisis, it's a global crisis, actually, because Greece isn't the only country in trouble. We are also in a deep shit, I might add, and most of my listeners know that, and so I don't have to go into too many details here, but I need to reiterate again my position in terms of what is actually causing this, okay? There are many people out there who say, including, the Tea Party supporters, that government is the problem. And I disagree. And here's why. Government per se is not the problem, okay? We don't live in the Stone Ages anymore when there were no governments whatsoever. People were hunting and gathering and so on, living in little tiny segments in their own little family clans, okay? Every society actually does have a government. This goes down to tribal societies anywhere on the globe. So this entire notion of a government is the problem is regressive in the extreme. Government per se is not the problem, but who controls that government is the problem. And I think we can all agree that basically the people of this nation are no longer in control of the government. So the next question would be, who is in control? And I'll tell you who's in control. It's a very rich segment of the global elite who is in control of our government and many others, I might add. Now, is this surprising? No, probably not, because basically, you've always had this kind of standoff between the elites and those down below. Only now it's happening on a global scale, and it becomes pretty damaging in the long run. Now, in my last video, I told you, basically the European Central Bank and the bankers in Europe and their big banking entities and their conglomerates are asking for austerity measures in Greece. And basically what they're trying to do is grab the only public assets left in that country, which is basic infrastructure. Okay, we're talking about airports, roads, seaports, what have you, water, electricity, the whole thing. Okay, on which everyone in the society depends, essentially. And they're supposed to be selling this off at rock bottom prices so that the banksters and the big financial investors, moreover, can be bailed out for their gambling habits on the global market. And so the little people essentially are being asked to pay the price for their mistakes, for their lies, and for their outright fraud, which includes frauds, by the way, amongst each other. Okay? Amongst the elites, there's also lots of fraud going on. So, just to give you an example, if you think this cannot happen here in the United States, it's already happening in terms of the entire sell-off of our infrastructure to private global investors who essentially want to turn the whole thing not into a public project, but into a project of ongoing profit, ongoing growth with no limitations in terms of trying to squeeze out some more money. So we're selling off Huffington Post. I hate Huffington Post, but Dylan Radigan had it right in this article when he said basically in Chicago, it's just a small thing, sale of parking meters, and you might laugh about it, but it's going much further than this in many other cities in America. Basically, we're selling off toll roads. We're selling off toll roads in Indiana. We're selling off Wisconsin's public health and food programs to private investors. We're selling off California libraries. And who benefits, right? Who benefits? And coming to a city near you, probably your water supply will also be privatized, including, your public utilities, electricity company, nuclear power plants. They are, by the way, also, much private to start with. And then, and it shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody, on Wall Street, they're setting up and running infrastructure funds for investment, and it's big business with over 140 billion run by such banks as Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and other investment banks around the globe. And the mantra is ownership and operation of public services, which of course is I might add a natural monopoly, right? It's a natural monopoly, such as airports, toll roads, shipping ports, and so on, are a good investment. And the only thing these banks have to say is our reputational concerns with the manner in which these assets are being operated or held. In other words, as long as the PR keeps going on, as long as they're going to try to lie to people that once everything is privatized, everything will function much more efficiently, kind of like we saw in the Gulf with Exxon and BP, then everything's going to be fine for the average citizen. In essence, for the banks and for these huge investors, the multi-billionaires out there, what it is it's not really a problem at all. It is a PR problem. That's what it is. When it becomes an existential problem for most people living on this planet. Because for us, it isn't a PR problem. It actually will involve whether you can afford your drinking water in 2019. And if you can't afford to pay that bill, you're shit out of luck. It's the same scam as these mortgage securitization bullshit. And the conflicts of interests are intense. And as far as, American politics is concerned, it's bipartisan. Because both parties are completely in on it. And this is basically a worldwide trend. The privatization of public infrastructure for profit. Not for the common good, but simply to turn a profit. It is absolutely incredible to me that the American public has been so brainwashed to actually believe that this will work out to their own benefit. When there are plenty of examples throughout the world where these experiments have actually been tried, and it can be proven that public services basically diminished, deteriorated to rock bottom, and it did not benefit the general population whatsoever. All you have to do is read the Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein, and she can give you plenty of examples of this kind of disaster capitalism which we are engulfed in right now. You know, right after this big, huge tsunami in Indonesia, and which also hit in Sri Lanka, by the way, you know, all these well-meaning NGOs and governmental agencies, and remember who controls them, right? Came in, oh yeah, let's help the population. Well, guess what happened? What they did is they drove the population who was trying to help themselves, you know, rebuild their own little cottages and farms or whatever. They drove them off the land in order to make room for executive hotel suites on those beaches. That's what happened. And there are plenty of other examples. Plenty. And as I said, it's a bipartisan effort. You know, both the Republicans and the Democrats are involved in this because their entire campaign financing depends on those big banks and conglomerates, and they're all basically bought off, with perhaps a few members in Congress left who have any kind of independent voice and who call them on their lies. But these people don't have a chance in hell to actually take on these all-controlling entities, because they've become too powerful, and so anybody who speaks up is going to be crushed in the real world as it exists today. And if you think Obama is any better than this, you know, he wants to help the little people, it's all empty rhetoric, because Obama is actually encouraging the Chinese government and their, you know, the government, by the way, in China is no longer communist, in case you haven't figured that out yet, okay? So the central planning of the communist regime has been taken over by the central planning of the banks and international conglomerates and their own conglomerates. And so the Obama administration is perfectly willing to privatize public assets here in the United States and encourage Chinese investments and other types of investment, including Saudi Arabia, you know, to take over the public good, to take over the public good in the interest of further profits. And who are these profits for? They're not trickling down. They're trickling up. There's no denying this. The income gap and the wealth gap within American society, and this is happening basically all over the globe, has never been greater than it is today in 2011. And this is what these people are calling success. You know, I hate to tell you, but I'd like to see what real success for them would look like. Because I don't want to be there. I don't want to experience that at all. And so it's time to go global, people, and to fight back against this complete house of cards, this idiocy in which it may not even be a conspiracy, you know, some evil people getting together trying to get you. it's a machinery which has taken on a life of its own, and it cannot be stopped unless we stop it. Good night.